Hi guys, how are you doing today? I have an update first on Lyn Keel. He was arrested yesterday. There's a separate video on it, a short video that you could see, I think it's 2 or 3 videos back, where he was wanted for killing his second wife, who was a nurse, and her body was discovered on March 12th. He was brought in for questioning. He was a person of interest, but they weren't keeping close tabs on him. And then when they wanted to arrest him, they couldn't find him. He was on the run. So they had a manhunt this weekend. They found him yesterday in Arizona, very close to the Mexican border. He had Wells Fargo receipts in the car, and he had large sums of cash. He's also now being looked into for the death of his first wife, whose death was ruled an accident back in, I think it was 2006, but now it's, warranting further investigation. So he's not made any statement, and I'll keep you updated on that as new developments come along. But I'm here to talk to you about the Madeline McCann, the disappearance of Madeline McCann on Netflix. And I'm here to talk to you about the first 4 episodes. So we're going to discuss those. And I know we discussed the first episode in another video, but it was a live and it was a few hours long. So this is just easier to keep it into one video. So I am going to include the first episode in this, and then I will continue with the last 4. The thing with the Madeline McCann case is, the thing that bothers me is it's all these years and we know she's not found. And it's very unnerving because there's camps that think this is the reason it happened, this is the reason, and it just seems like nothing gets done now and it's going to be that way forever. So in some ways it's like, what's the point of going through all of it? But you never know. There can always be cracks in a case, and there are those cases that surprise you. So okay, I'm going to drink here because lots of talking. This is a family from the UK, Madeline and Jerry McCann, and they have a 3-year-old and twins that were almost 2. Madeline was almost 4. They went on vacation in Portugal, and they went with a group. Jerry was in sports medicine first, and then he was specializing more in cardiology, and Kate was also a physician who was a GP. They had fertility issues, so Madeline was conceived by IVF, and I believe the twins were as well. Madeline had a defect in her eye, which caused a very noticeable look to it, where it had almost like a little line that came down in the pupil, kind of thick. So it would be very easy to recognize her, sort of birthmark, okay, which is a very rare condition. And what happened was, during this vacation, at this resort, there was a restaurant, a tapas restaurant, which is kind of across from their room, but they're not able to see their room from that restaurant. And even though they had a babysitting service in the hotel, and even though they could have got a nanny for their children, none of these people did that were in this party. And most of them, I think not all of them, were physicians with their spouses, some of them physicians, and all of their children in this little entourage that went to this resort. And this was not the first night that they did this, okay? They did this on multiple nights. They would leave all of the children alone in the rooms, and then the parents would get up and check on the kids every so often, and sometimes other parents would check on other parents' kids, So what happened was, supposedly Jerry made the first trip back and said that as he closed the door and looked at the sleeping kids, he was so happy that he was a father and so lucky, right? But they left the door open, which I can't even understand why they would leave the door open. Why? I don't get it. It's not like they're going to hear anything. Why didn't they even have a baby monitor at the very least? But yeah, so he goes back, and then I guess a friend of theirs from the group went, and this person was said to have just looked into the doorway He said that he saw a light and heard a child stirring. He didn't want to go any further because he thought the child would wake up, so he left. And then the third time was Kate, who went in there, and she noticed that a window was open, and it freaked her out, and it slammed the door shut. And when she opened it up, Madeline was missing. Now, the twins were still in the playpen, pack and play kind of thing. She doesn't act the way someone would, I don't think, if they thought their child was abducted. Now, first of all, like I said to you guys the last time, if I left the door open to a hotel and my 3, almost 4-year-old is gone, but my babies are there, I'm going to think more to the fact that she walked out, okay? She got up and she walked out to try to find us. I'm going to be much more concerned with a drowning, okay? Even if she knew how to swim, that's going to be my first thing. Check the pools. That's going to be my first thing. Thought is going to be she got up and she walked out. Not that somebody abducted her. So I just thought that was a little bit of a strange deduction. And to be so certain of that, okay? I can see saying, I don't know where she is, she's not in the room, what happened, but she was very certain of an abduction. And then being so certain of an abduction, but not then grabbing your twins before you go running back to the restaurant to alert everyone that Madeline's been taken, is beyond bizarre. Because if they already took one of your children, and this is what you're thinking, why would you leave your other 2 children there? Why wouldn't you stay there and summon them? And that's another thing. These children never woke up. They never woke up throughout this whole thing, even when people were flying in and out of the room, and it was said that Kate was checking them to make sure they were breathing properly. Now, right prior to Kate going there was another woman that remembers, after she came forward, saying that she had seen a gentleman carrying what looked like a sleeping child down the street there by the rooms. It looked like the child was in pajamas. But, that was all that was said. And when they drew a sketch of this person, they actually just drew a face with no eyes, nose, mouth, and hair. And they actually put that in if you've seen this person. It almost looked like something from Saturday Night Live. I'm not kidding around. Okay. So the crime scene was compromised because there were people running in and out of that room. The window was a big thing. Kate had said it was open and the shutter was all the way up. But when the police got there, it wasn't like that. And then it was found that it couldn't be open from the outside like that. It couldn't just be thrust up. So it would have had to have been inside. And if the person had to go inside the apartment, why wouldn't he just walk right out the door? Why would he have to worry about the window? So that didn't make much sense at all. Plus, the fingerprints did not pan out, okay? There was one fingerprint and it didn't point to any intruder coming in or taking a child out through that. So they took Kate and Jerry in one at a time to give statements, and they asked Kate if it was her first time in Portugal, and she said, yes, and my last. And she was they felt hostile at first, at first. And then, let's see, we'll talk about that. They had a press conference. When they had the press conference, the mother was clutching the child's, Madeline's toy, pink, I don't know if it's a dog or a cat. And she's got her eyes closed and she looks very pained, but you don't see any tears, which is odd, I think. And the father is very composed throughout everything I've seen him in. I have not seen him emotional or breaking down at all throughout this entire, everything I'm seeing in this docuseries. Okay, so now in episode 2, it's a person of interest. So they start taking you through another case of Holly and Jessica where the school caretaker did the same type of thing that Jodi Arias did, and the same kind of thing that Nikki does in the Chris Watts case. keeps coming forward with more evidence. Oh, I thought about this phone call and this stuff that we talked about that he was washing sheets, you know. And they're so helpful, so helpful in an attempt to deflect suspicion from them, okay? And I think that's a very, very popular thing that guilty people do in these cases, is to come forward and go out of their way to help, even if it's searching, if it's something someone's missing, to help with the search, or to keep calling investigators, offering information, asking if you could help in any way, blah, 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 because they think, why would a guilty person do that? Why wouldn't you just ride off into the sunset and hope no one notices you? So they were focusing on that in this school caretaker that ended up being the person that killed these girls. But in the beginning, he was very, very helpful, doing interviews, you know, looking to search with them, all that stuff. And then they have this Robert guy, who's Robert Murat, and he's acting a little suspicious, they think. When he talks to the press, he's doing the same type of thing. He's talking to the press, he's trying to find out about this. His house is right above these apartment villas that everyone was staying in, and he's blind in one eye, so he has some notice. It's not that noticeable in the dark, but it's noticeable in other times. People were saying things about him. The press was looking at him. One time the press was taking pictures. He said, "Don't take my picture." A lot of things were raising suspicion. Anyway, they got him out of his house, and when they did, they just did a whole raid on the house, taking a whole bunch of things, but they never found much of anything. Then they found a 22-year-old Russian man that built a website for Robert, a real estate website for him. And they started questioning him, and they started taking all of these computers and hard drives that he had in the back of his car, that a lot of them weren't even his, and then questioning him about what was on those. And he's saying, "I don't even know what you have. Why don't you tell me what you have? Because are you finding a chip for pornography or whatever? Because those aren't even mine, and I bet you, 9 out of 10 computers or hard drives that you get will have something like that. What does that mean?" Blah, 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 blah. They went through this whole thing, and then ultimately that was nothing for them, and they let him go, and they have him, now at his age talking about it. They also have Robert Murat talking about what went on then in that episode. So Robert's house was scanned with radar and all of that stuff, but nothing was found there to tie him to that, okay? So they of course brought him in for questioning, all of that good stuff. There was no comment from Madeline's father, Jerry, if he knew Robert Murat, which I found out very strange. Why would there be no comment? I know him or I don't. Why would you say no comment? Very strange. And the mother of this computer guy was taken in as well for questioning. There was this phone call that connected the two of them at 11:30 p.m. And so it went from Robert to this Russian computer guy, and they don't remember it. So Robert thinks it might have been a pocket dial, and the computer guy says, that missed phone call is going to haunt me because it's connecting me to something that I have nothing to do with, So that was all about that. So at the end, Sergei, which is the Russian guy, was free to go. The computers, the CD-ROMs were confiscated. Father comes out with the mother. She's holding Madeline's stuffy, and they ask for everyone to treat all the suspects the way that they should be, innocent until proven guilty. And then there was a 50-day celebration, well, not celebration, a marking, I should say, a marking of the 50 days that Madeline's been missing, with balloons being launched on the beach with a picture of her on each balloon. So they were released, And someone said to Kate, this must be a very difficult day. And she said, every day is difficult, yeah. Now, a little bit of their background is given here, that they've worked their way up, in life. They've worked their way through medical school, and they are simple of aspiration. I said Jerry is in cardiac medicine and Kate a GP. Pressure is overwhelming. They go on this road show kind of thing where they're flying on planes and going to all these different countries to raise awareness of this. And then some people are saying, I don't know if that was the right thing to do, the wrong thing to do. It gave people different perceptions of them. Okay, so they were falling under a lot of criticism, okay? And there was a certain level of hostility towards them, especially from the people of Portugal. And again, he would come forth. He made all the. He was the one that really spoke at these press conferences that they had, and like I said, he was very composed. She would normally sit there and her eyes closed in a very pained expression, but did not see any tears. And she looked to me a little bit, and I'm going to tell you in another episode, almost like an abused woman, that she was like under his thumb. You better come out there and you better stand next to me. I don't know. She was like a little shell of a person, and I don't think it's just because of what happened. I think, I don't know. I get a vibe from him that he is a very aggressive, maybe abusive, maybe controlling type of a person. I can just see something in him, and something that's in my opinion. But in the body language and the way he acts and his eyes, it seems like that to me. Okay, so then to talking about another child missing and not getting the attention because of all the attention that the McCanns got in this case, then locals are very upset. Why aren't the children that are missing in Portugal getting the attention that Madeline McCann is getting? Anyway, there's this boy that was missing, and they look into it a little bit, and they find part of a Wonderland pedophile ring. And the mother comes in, and she does find her son's face, but they don't know where he is. They didn't find Madeline in this ring. And the McCanns don't want to talk about their dinner guests, and they don't want people to speak about what happened, which is really odd, right? I don't know. And so now the suspicion's growing because people are saying, well, what are they hiding this stuff for? Where there's smoke, there's fire. And there's hostile attitudes towards them, and a lot of people are feeling that they're hiding something. What are they hiding? It seems like they have an alliance, to protect someone, and that's what it seems like. So, with so little info and so much media, it led to terrific speculations about the case. McCann started to come under an intense scrutiny. Hostility from the Portuguese police, and in these types of situations, odds are that it's far more likely for the person that either abducted the child or did something to have been a friend or a family member. So that's adding to this. Bringing in cadaver dogs and samples, it's hard with the tourist department because there's so many different families in and out and in and out. So it's not going to be as straightforward as if it was someone's house where it's just that family in there for the most part. You're having so many people coming in and out of this, and then that crime scene being so compromised. And then they're talking again about the window and and the scene. A lot of this stuff it will repeat from episode to episode. So it raised suspicion whether the window was open or closed. The only fingerprint on the glass, it seemed like it seemed like a staged crime. The dogs were brought in, they went off behind the couch and next to the bed. And Jerry was told to be scared of the dogs coming in, right? Okay, the twins remained asleep, like I said before, among all the traffic and the screams and the shouting of everyone in the apartment. Kate didn't wake them or take them with her. She was checking their breathing through the night. And then the newspapers started saying, like the Sun newspaper said that she may have used Calpol, which I think is an over-the-counter antihistamine like Benadryl, to drug the children. And then there were even more, hypothesis by police that it was an accidental death and the parents hid the body. Because the dogs then, they brought in all the vehicles that were used by their whole entourage when they were there, and the cadaver dog hit on the driver's side door and the back, what they call the boot area. It's almost like kind of a small type minivan kind of thing in the back area there. And so then now they're saying, oh my gosh, they put her body in there. All of this is going down now. And when they were doing an interview, the person interviewing them asked Jerry about the blood found in the apartment with the dogs, and he pulls off his microphone and walks out of there, and she's just sitting there. This is another, no expression, really, just almost fear on her face. Like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Do I get up and walk after him? Do I try to ask him to come back? She was just like a deer in the headlights kind of look, and that leads me again to maybe them being some kind of control or abuse issues, okay? So then when they got the forensic results, they were originally in English, translated to Portuguese, and then the police only got a summary that they read. And they totally missed where it said to wait for the definitive results. So they just went with that summary as if it was finished, set in stone. And they leaked stuff to the press because the police are not supposed to be talking about the DNA. So the final results were not in. And they somehow leaked to the press that there were 70 of 90 marks that exactly matched Madeline, and she was inside that car. She died by an accident. And the checks on Madeline that night were totally concocted, that they had hidden their daughter's body, maybe in the refrigerator. It may have checked in the refrigerator, and then transported her in a rental car weeks later. Okay. So now they want to bring in Kate, and she's very nervous. She goes to the police station with her husband, and she's questioned for over 11 hours, and quite aggressively, according to her. She's visibly distressed when she's leaving, and it has been thought that maybe she was the weaker one, so they're trying to split them and maybe turn them on each other. They offered her a plea deal where, she could get out in a year or two if she would just admit to the accidental death, things like that, or do something with the husband. And she went in the next day, and then Jerry went in, and then they were named, official suspects. So it was getting very scary for them. They were advised to leave by one of their advisors or someone they knew, and Jerry said, oh, I'm already getting ready to do that. And then when they did get ready to do that, then the hostility that was by the Portugal people was really intense, because they're saying, if you're innocent, what in the world are you running from? And if you totally believe your daughter is here and she was abducted, why would you let that worry you? Wouldn't your main concern be finding your daughter? And then if you got arrested, you'd take that chance. If you truly believed your daughter was abducted and she was somewhere over there, you're just going to pick up and leave. So they faced a lot of backlash from that, and even there was press that was almost blocking the plane when they were taking off, and it was almost, they had to have legal action to get them away. But they ended up going back to the UK. And they issued a statement when they landed and before that they were looking, they missed their daughter very much, but they were afraid to be in Portugal. They returned to the UK. They said through their press contacts, media contacts, that they wanted to give an ordinary life for their twins as much as possible, to go back to the UK. And they had sadness going home without their daughter Madeline, and they said that Portugal was then saying, liars, you should not be here. Also, there were publications coming out with things that were not proven about hypodermic needles being found in the room, and they injected their children with these anesthetics to keep them asleep, and they had anesthesiologists that were in that little group of theirs. And so, it just kept getting really, really ugly. And then when they were leaving, the people of Portugal were saying liars. you should not be here, you're liars, you know, you did this, and very, very bad things going on like that. And then again, he spoke, and he comes off the plane, and the boy is like completely floppy and asleep. You know, at this time, you know, this is a 2-year-old child, completely floppy and asleep, and the girl's just kind of sitting there, and the boy is just totally floppy. No matter what, he's coming downstairs, he's doing this, the wind, he's just passed out there. And you know, if they are giving their children something, you think that they would be a little more careful not to do it now when they're under the eye. But this child just remains asleep, and that causes somebody to say, you know, I think I saw that guy carrying a child just like that. I think it was the father. So that's as we're going into the 5th episode here. But you know, he just again says, we had no part in the disappearance of our daughter Madeline. And I don't know, I'm just getting, if you follow this, you know, you can watch this, but it's just, a lot of times when I watch these cases, it's just like that John Bonet. It goes on and on and on, and they make these new documentaries, and nothing is new, really. It goes over, and I understand why they do it, because there's people that have not been following the case, or people that are coming of age that are trying to learn about older cases that were quite sensational. So yes, there's always going to be a market for that type of documentary. But when you've been following it and something's new, then you're like, well, tell me, what didn't I know? And there really isn't much. I mean, if you're really into a case, sometimes it's just, you just like to watch that, but that's what I mean about like John Bonet. You just feel like it's done. Time's passed to solve it, and it's just not going to be solved. Not now. I mean, so am I like chomping at the bit to watch these last 4 episodes? Not really. But you know, let me know your thoughts if you're watching this, and what you think about this documentary. I know some of you said it wasn't interesting. Some of you said it was. Some of you, you know, had different views on it. Again, got to go into the next 4 episodes, and that's when it's going to start with the Kennedy people, and you know, going to try to find it, seeing a picture of a girl that looked a lot like Madeline out of the mountains in Morocco, but turns out not to be, and that kind of stuff, and a little more about the sex trafficking, just in the book. And I believe it was the mother, but I think the father have said something that the first word to describe her is beautiful, and you know, that's not so bad, but that she describes her genitals as beautiful or perfect, or you know, in that sense. And I did go and look that up, and the way she says it is, you know, they're actually, I can't imagine, you know, something, you know, quite graphic, but and then describing that as perfect, you know. So I don't know, it seems a little bit like, why would you want to go in that much detail about that? There's other ways to go around that, and I don't think any parent wants to think of that, but whatever on that. Now, what else? I am preparing that PowerPoint type video about that Texas case, because I've already have a lot of that done. So I'm going to continue and do that. And Kelsey Barrett, we really don't have any new news on that. There was a body found in Denver, and it was that of a male. So it's kind of, I don't expect too much going forward until we get to that court date in a couple of weeks, and nothing really going through. I know some of you have given me other cases. I am looking into the Susan Powell case. I am looking into the other cases of these husbands that have killed their wives. I'm still looking into our antifreeze nurse. So I'm following up with these. There may be some short videos either about some initial information on some of these cases, or some updates. If we have one on the antifreeze nurse, trying to get these up for you guys. And it's going to be a mixture of using videos like this and lives as we go through this. I'm still working on the Valerie Bertinelli movie, In the Name of a Child. about those murders in New Jersey from the dentist that killed his wife with the weight. Remember that one? And I'm working on that. So I've got things going on. It just takes time, and it's just been a really busy time. So that's what I'm saying. A lot of times it's not that I don't want to make a feature video, but it's just I have to go live, because then I don't have to fumble with all the editing and then getting it up and then doing a premiere. And I don't want to not be connecting with you guys, because there are things to talk about. So even though a live is not the ideal forum for doing a case, because our lives tend to go long and they span lots of different topics, and which is good. I think people are enjoying them, and I think that there's something for everyone. And now maybe some will only want to watch the premiere videos, and that's fine. Maybe some, take away something from both, and that's good. But please, you don't have to keep saying on the lives that, oh, I wish you'd go back to your premiere videos, because I haven't stopped. It's just when time doesn't permit, that's what I can do for you. So then I'm just going to go live, because we'll at least get to discuss something. And sometimes I'll go live when I post something earlier in the day, like I may post this and then go live to take questions and to discuss reaction to this. Now, as I said, as I get my broadcasting software up on my other computer and play around with that so that we can have call-ins and people as video guests and calling in, it's going to be a much more interactive type of a live, and I think we'll use those a lot to discuss cases, right? Okay, and I know what I'll show you. This is my new one. This is for my son's birthday tomorrow. We're going to have it tonight, though. I don't know if the light is too bright that it's washed out there for you guys. Probably is washed out. I don't know. There'll be a photo on my Instagram if you follow me. But that's another one. So I've been doing that. Did that this weekend. All right. Take care, guys. I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye now.